Hello everyone, welcome back to the Hawkins Do Copy podcast. My name is Lauren.
And my name is Emily, and in this podcast we talk about all things Stranger Things.
Sorry that there was not an episode last week. Unfortunately, I was in the hospital, so as much as we did want to try and get one up, we just thought it would be better to push it to this week when we were all feeling all okay and it would be able to be an actual coherent podcast rather than the high on morphine. So
we need to go solo for a week, probably, maybe not,
the debates just aren't the same, if you're debating yourself. So we're here this week. We're going to combine what was going to be the second and third episode of this month of the new topic into one episode because we think that that's doable. Speaking of the new topic, Emily, what are we doing this month? What is the theme for this month?
So the theme for this month, we're talking all things, I suppose all things characters, really. So we're talking the party, the adults, the teens, we're just talking backstories and all that combined, really.
Yeah, so we thought that because the last episode was focusing on D&D and the D&D links with the show, it would be pretty perfect to go into this episode talking about the party, which is we wouldn't have the Stranger Things if we didn't have the party.
They're kind of important part of the show. We keep saying important part of the show. Everything's an important part of the show.
Yeah, I sort of think they are one of the key points of it. So we're going to talk about the four boys and then a brief little discussion on Max and Elle as well, because they are party members by the end of season 3. They're both fully.
We did do a full podcast on 11 back in our first little set. So remember to have a little listen to that.
Yes, and that one goes into a lot more detail than we will today about Elle, because we have covered so much about her already. And she'll pop up in so many different podcasts as well, because again is pretty much the main character. And we are going to have a whole episode on Max in next month's theme, which I will not spoil yet. But yeah, today we're going to talk about the party. So who are we going to start with? Who is the first member of the party?
You know what? Let's mix up a little bit this week and let's talk about Dustin first, shall we?
A fan favourite, I think.
I think he's one of the most popular ones, actually. I think if you ask people who their favourite is, to be honest, most people will say Dustin. And I think with good reason, to be honest. He's a funny guy, to be honest, to put it.
He's the glue of the group.
And it's quite interesting as well, because when we were doing research on it, and we looked in our favourite book, the companion guide, The World Turned Upside Down, and there's a lot of comparisons with Lucas in a way. They kind of, foil's the wrong word, but they're kind of each other's counterpart in a sense.
In a really good way. You wouldn't have one without the other. They really sort of bounce off of each other and work really well together because of their differences, which was really... It's really fun because we know a lot about Stranger Things, but when we're planning these, we end up going on huge tangents because we realise other things.
Yeah.
And then we're like, oh my God, this is so clever of them to have done. Like these two characters are so well matched.
Yeah. There's a bit when we're going to talk about, say, like Michael Moore, for example, we were looking in that book again, and even goes down to the houses and how the houses like reflect their character and how they're put together, and it's just the details within it.
Yeah.
It's just, I'm going to say the word clever again, but it's just so clever the way it's out. Yeah.
That's what I really like about Matt and Ross Duffer, is that you can really tell that a lot of thought has gone into what they have created. So as much as it is a fantasy sci-fi show with alternate universes and dimensions and upside downs, there is actually, I think, the thing that makes the show is the character building and the characters that we have, because you can have any sci-fi story, but it's not good unless you care about the people that are involved with the sci-fi story.
Yeah.
And I think
that's something that makes Dustin, I think, especially that fan favourite, because I think in a sense he's probably one of the easiest to relate to.
Yeah.
I think, he's kind of just that all around good guy.
Yeah.
Really.
So what we know about Dustin is roughly born in 1971. We don't know exact dates. That's just pretty much guessing on how old they are from different.
Yeah, it will be depending on how their school years work. I don't know quite how it's in America. It'd be 1970, 1971, around that.
Yeah, I think the internet have gone for the 1971 ballpark, but genuinely saw some pictures the other day that Americans have gone back to school, whereas the UK holiday system has just started, so it confuses me a little bit. So I'm not an expert on American schooling, so not a clue. And we have Claudia Henderson, who is his mum. So we have, so Dustin Henderson, that's his full name, for I'm sure everyone knows that. Played by Gaten Matarazzo, who does a very good job at portraying Dustin and bringing Dustin to life. And we also know that Mr. Henderson, Dustin's dad, was in season 1 at Will's funeral, but is not in the picture for the other seasons. And it did say when we were doing research that he is Claudia's ex-husband. So that's what we know about Dustin's backstory prior to season 1, and so a little bit about him. What's
interesting, I'll try that again. What's really quite nice about Dustin as well is that how they brought in Gaten's own condition, in a sense, that they brought real awareness to that within the character, because obviously it wasn't written that way.
Yeah.
So it's nice they've really taken part of him within that. We may pronounce the name wrong, so we apologise. We're going to try our best. Cleidocranial dysplasia.
Yeah, cleidocranial dysplasia, which is something that Gaten Matarazzo has. And the thing that I really like about this, actually, that they put it into Dustin's character and have it as something that Dustin has, is that he openly talks about it on the show. Says what it is and what he has, and it's mentioned multiple times throughout every season as well. It wasn't just something that was mentioned in season 1 once. It's mentioned throughout every season that we have, which I really like, because it's a condition that I didn't know about before I watched the show. And I think that was the same with a lot of people, and it's been really good because it has drawn awareness to it, and Gaten does that as well on his social media and everything, which I think is really, really good. And I like that they did that. I like that they brought that in and have it as something that Dustin's character also has, because it is a really good thing, I think, to bring awareness to, and also other people that have it can see themselves in the character, which is really good.
So within the book, I'll read a quote from this because I think it actually really explains Dustin quite well. So it says, he emerges kind of a counterpoint to Lucas. He's able to negotiate conflict and diffuse tensions, often with a little humour and a little bracing honesty. And where Dustin's a little more optimistic and a little more positive, Lucas is very tough. And I think we see that as well, actually, even through season 2, when we've got those two kind of acting as that pairing that we kind of see more. So when they're talking to Max and they're trying to get her to come to the Halloween trick-or-treating, even just something as simple as that, where he's trying to press in that way, and then Lucas has got that kind of more, why have you done that kind of attitude with it, and you can really see how they're playing off each other, which I think is actually really nice to see.
Yeah, and I think that that's a good way to describe him. He also says about how Dustin is overly optimistic because he is not very optimistic inside, which I think is really good. And I think that you do see parts of Dustin when he is scared and when he is wary of something or is worried about something, but he does have that attitude of, I want to help and I want us to get through this, and I want to have that, which really helps and adds to a lot of situations. I think we've mentioned before, just briefly in a couple of podcasts, when he talks to Steve in season 3 and he says, if you die, I die.
Yeah.
You know he's terrified, and you know that he is smart enough to be aware that there is a very high chance that they are not getting out of this Russian base or weird moving lift that is a weird alleyway to something, but he's he is optimistic about the fact that, you know, if this is what's going to happen, he's going to fight with him, and he is going to be there and fight, and he's not going to sort of let the fear take over. He's going to sort of keep that optimism, which
I feel like that's passed on kind of like a funny line, in a sense, but actually if you dig a little bit with it, actually, that is a really good point. That it does show that kind of that real commitment and that honesty, but and also, as you said, that kind of, I'm going to act confident, but actually I'm very aware that this could possibly go so badly.
And I think that he's also aware that him and Steve are the only two that will know about the weird stuff that goes on in that situation. So it's almost that, especially when they have that moment of realization of, could it be the lab connect? Like, could it be connected when they both stop in the hallway? And he obviously has known the horrors of Hawkins and what Hawkins has, but Erica, who is a lot younger than him, and Robin, who doesn't know what's going on, he is aware that they don't know, and I think there is that almost sort of protective, especially I think to Erica. I think he does actually want to, as much as he sort of winds her up a little bit, he does want to actually protect her, which I think is nice. And I think he's seen the way Steve was and wants to sort of not emulate that, because I think Dustin was very brave anyway. But he sort of wants to also show that,
but in a different sense, I suppose. I actually really, like, this has nothing to do, well, it does in a sense, but I actually really liked that whole dynamic within season 3, to be honest. They were the whole Scoops troop, and Erica, I was about to call him Gaten then. Erica, Dustin, Steve and Robin. I love that whole dynamic. They kind of made it for me.
Scoops troop. So when we were doing a lot of research on this, we were looking at the party and their interests, and it was interesting to think about, they're obviously all very smart, they're all very into science. We see that from the get-go, and they're into fantasy and sci-fi, and, you know, they say about them being nerds and all of that jazz. But it's interesting because I definitely think that Dustin is the more scientifically inclined one. Like, it's something that comes to him quite easily. You know, he's the one that goes to the science camp. He literally builds a communication tower.
I mean,
I'm not going to be able to call my girlfriend on the phone, so I'll just build this huge tower. And I think that's what makes him so sort of optimistic in situations, because he knows what he can use and knows that he has
his skills and knows that he can implement it. That, I think that's the wrong word, but that kind of sense that he knows how to use what he's got.